Allen chair. And you guys could just go down the line. It'd be great.
Bob Abriola, voting member.
Nori Gruden, treasurer.
Peter Smith, voting member.
Brian Casper, voting member.
Kadeem Roberts, voting member.
Emerson Straniti, voting member.
Very good. Thank you, everybody. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? We have 7 voting members currently. I've heard from Matt Callahan, who could not be here tonight because of school. And Michelle Rakowski is not able to join us. But we do have Julio Pardo here. Welcome, Julio.
Hi, Julio.
Cool. So we can jump in. Sabrina, do we have anybody other than Julio here from the public?
Nope.
Okay. Cool. And has everybody here had a chance to review the minutes of November 10th from our last meeting? And were there any outstanding issues with that as far as any of our members go?
None for me, Mark. All good.
The minutes have been pretty easy since we've started recording these. So let's take a vote. Do I have a nomination for the vote for the approve the minutes as noted?
I'll second it. Emerson Straniti.
Somebody needs to first it.
First it.
I'll second it. Bob Abriola.
Thank you. With a vote starting with myself, Mark Allen for aye.
Bob Abriola,
Aye.
aye.
Peter Smith, aye.
Nori Gruden, aye.
Emerson Straniti, aye.
Brian Casper, I'm going to abstain. I wasn't present.
Sure.
Mention.
All right. Other than Brian, any abstentions? Any nays? Okay, that motion passes. So we can jump into an update from Nori on the finances.
Yes, Maritza sent me an email with the budget, and it looks like on November 2nd, we got rollover money in certain fields. Other professional services, they added money to the account. Contractual services, they added money into the account, and then operating supplies. So now we have a total of $14,006, and we got an invoice from Michelle, and we now have, minusing Michelle's invoice, it's $13,506. And Sabrina can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if she's seen Maritza's
Nope.
email.
That's all right.
So now we're operating with $13,506 until, what is it, June of next year?
June 30th, so July 1st is when the new money comes in.
Okay, so Sabrina and Nori, I just have a question. From the current budget and given the money that we have received in rollover, do we have anything at this point earmarked for social media outside of what Michelle is going to get?
I think we're allowed to pull from, wouldn't it be other professional services or
So there's 2 ways we can do it.
operating supplies?
We can move the money to the advertising line item, or Michelle can pay for it and we can reimburse her through other contractual services. So we can do that either way.
Okay, Peter, what did you do in the past as far as when you did social media boosting? You paid for it out of your pocket? How did that work?
Yeah, I have an account. You have to have an advertising account. So I would just pay for it and then submit an invoice.
Okay.
You know,
So maybe this is more like for budgeting committee rather than the full meeting, but I want to basically figure out what of our budget we have that we can allocate towards for social media. Because I still feel like that's an important thing for us to do as far as to increase our footprint for
Yeah.
more people to see the posts that we're doing. I guess that's more for communications committee. I guess we can hold off on that, but that's going to dovetail in a moment anyway. But I think that that's a question I have is like, what is our budget for that? That we
Right.
should.
Yeah, I think in general with social media boosting, you have to know what your objective is, whether it's to gain followers or to promote a specific event. I would probably recommend boosting generally and just do it more for specific events.
Yeah. Yeah. So, hey, Janet, welcome.
You could drive traffic a certain way too. So that's one of the options. Right, Peter? Like if we want to drive traffic to a website or something, we can do that as well.
Yeah, sure. Definitely. I just have really welcome. The chair just wants to recognize Janet Evelyn, voting member. Welcome. And Melissa Matuska, voting member. Welcome.
Hi, sorry guys.
No problem, Melissa. You good?
I am good. I just didn't have a link. I found it through the website.
Okay, not a problem. The only thing that you missed is that we voted to move approve the agenda. Sorry, the minutes of the last meeting as noted.
Great.
And we just heard a budget update from Nori. We currently have, after Michelle's recent invoice, we have a balance now of $13,605 for our general, operating costs going forward. And what we're discussing now is more for communications, but I'm trying to pinpoint the amount that we have budgeted for social media outside of Michelle. Did we have anything, Sabrina or Janet, did we have any amount listed from our last budget? Or Peter, did we have an amount sort of roughly outlined for what, your budget was?
I think we verbally, we have to go through the minutes approved, a few $100 a month, something along those lines. But it was pretty loosey-goosey.
Okay. All right, so I'll follow up with Sabrina and Nori, and we can basically see if we can figure out.
I would recommend that you try to figure out what your objectives are with the communication committee, and then I can back into a budget as far as what you're going to spend, because we can pretty much figure out what the impressions will be and what the cost is going to be if you want to reach X number of people doing for specifics.
Right. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, and if Bob is doing the virtual art gallery or the Maritime Gallery, maybe we can boost that when everything is done so people can get traction there as well, because there's certain things and people aren't going anywhere, so they're not seeing a lot of the stuff that's going on in the city.
Yeah.
So maybe we can boost those type of things.
Michelle she actually does a pretty good job. I forward her a lot of those updates, and we just launched the next show, which will start December 1st for submissions. So she's been copied on some of those emails. But yeah, I agree. Boosting that would help.
Well, I want to say if we can just, I know in the scheme of things in our daily lives, it's really tough, but as much as our voting members can share Michelle's posts on your own personal Facebooks as much as you're willing to, that really helps your organic reach. So just to put that out there, because Michelle does a great job, but organically, very small percentage of people are seeing the posts. So whatever we can do to increase, public awareness, the better.
Putting a comment on the, making a comment on the post helps geometrically drive traffic as well.
For sure. Every bit of engagement, definitely going to help. Okay, now the only other thing I have for communications beyond that is I have spoken to Matt Callahan about getting him more engaged with communications we want to basically restart the Arts Commission newsletter. which, you know, has existed in the past in MailChimp. We're just not using it. And I think we should be doing that. And I think that I sort of envision the newsletter being like sort of a recap of our, you know, our social media news. I mean, so our Arts Commission news for the previous month, public, again, increasing public awareness. And however much you guys can sort of be like reporters of things that you find out in your daily lives about arts news, as much as you can share that you run across, you know, anything of interest, you know, drop an email to, you know, to myself or to the Live, Love, Norwalk, just to alert people to what you find out. And the more that we can share, you know, the more that we can do a service to the public. That's really all I have to say about that. Cool. If there's no other comments or ideas on that, we can move on to the Infrastructure Committee update from, we start with MLK update. Oh, you might need to unmute, Janet.
Hello, everyone. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving. Yeah, so since the last meeting, of course, you know, Julio has taken the stern, and you know, he's I know that he's working on putting together you know, I guess some sort of outline and a plan based on the timeline that Sabrina and I had, that Sabrina had discussed, and the various areas in City Hall that, you know, would need to sign off on it. So Julio was gracious to join us to give us an update on that this evening. So I'm just going to let him do that.
Thank you, Janet. Pretty much, you know, exactly what she said. I'm putting together a document that I'm hoping to share with the committee, hopefully by the end of this week, kind of outlining the next steps that we're looking to take. Also looking to share some of the sites, locations that are interesting for art, so that we can start that discussion as to what is feasible and also what is, you know, public property versus private property. So there's a variety of locations, and I'm putting that document together to share with you so that we can go ahead and you know, talk about it. And then, you know, again, an outline that kind of goes with the timeline, giving us the steps that we hope to, or map it out, how we hope to go through the project.
So Julio, would that include some ideas around themes for the art installation and sort of like, you know, the breadth of it, like potentially, you know, how many different types of installation it would potentially could include?
Yeah, that's the idea, is to kind of like what you know, and I've said this to you before in our conversations. It's like I'm hoping to create almost like a portfolio of sites that we start to cultivate and we vet, so that, yeah, we have this project, but as we start to think about the MLK corridor and what is possible, you know, once we attract more investors or different investors, we have these places that are already in our portfolio, so that we can instantly go to something and be like, oh, this would be good to do at the Smilo Center, or this would be cool for you know, the you know, South Norwalk train station. I don't know, something like that. So that's basically more or less this document is going to be for a point of discussion, and we'll talk about what's doable and what's not doable. But what I hope to have is some sort of just map to show you what the areas are that I think would be good for art, public art.
Great. So remind us again, I don't have it in front of me. What was the next milestone that we had to, because I know that one of the first things that we had to do is, well, the commission, of course, have to approve the plan. And then I think the next big one was to get it to the Recs and Park Committee, right? Yeah, what's the date on that?
Well, that's the question, right? If it's on Recs and Parks property, then yes, then we need to get it to the Recs. But if it's somewhere else, it may need a different part of the city that needs to approve it, because I think not everything is going to fall in Recs and Parks purview.
Everything does fall into that because it's not only recs and parks, it's like cultural something as well. It like covers everything. So that's how we would get to council, because you can't just go straight to council. You have to go to a committee. So that one's the most appropriate.
So as far as, and I'll just throw it out, an underpass, let's just say, or something dealing with, an area around the train station, that would still be part of Parks and Rec?
It would, but that's gonna require some extra steps depending what it is, whether it be through DPW and Public Works Committee, or if it has to do with state, then that has to go to Traffic Committee and go to the state.
Right, exactly.
So it depends, but the entire plan in its entirety has to go to Parks and Rec so that I can bring it to council.
Okay, got it.
Great.
Even private property, let's just say?
Yeah, because they're just approving kind of the use of the funds, essentially.
Got you. Thank you.
And when is that next date for us, Sabrina? In terms of I don't know, do you have that?
We were hoping to have something out for public comment between now and kind of mid-December, and then come to the January 5th Arts Commission meeting for us all to review it and approve it. And then the Parks Committee meeting is the 14th of January.
Sabrina, what would be our mechanism for alerting the public to the public participation aspect?
We can post online and also have a quote unquote public hearing at the Arts Commission meeting as well.
Okay, in that case, can we work offline on the verbiage part of that? Because then that would be something that we could potentially incorporate into our next newsletter.
Yep.
Yeah, as far as those deadlines are concerned, I think, like I said, I hope to have this document ready this week, so that at least the committee can at least start talking about, what's feasible and what looks interesting. And then, figuring out how you'd want to present it to the public for that December 15th date, and or the January 5th, larger commission meeting.
Okay.
Mark, who's going to be putting out the newsletter? Would that be you?
It would be myself in conjunction with the other members of the social media communications committee. But I'm open to participation from everybody. If you have ideas, if you have things that you want to communicate, etc. I think it's pretty much, it's a recap of major news and public, things that we really need to alert people to specifically. I'm not looking for it to be like the Wall Street Neighborhood Association, we put out a weekly newsletter, but it's like a mile long, you know what I mean? And people tend to scan over the top 3 items and then they move on. So I think being very concise is important for us, and to make sure we're alerting people of the major news items.
Julio, and I know you and Janet may have the connections, but we should definitely involve the church community over there as well. All those folks down there. The churches down there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so the Calvary Baptist, Grace
Yeah.
Baptist, and I think the other major one would be the Canaan Baptist.
Yeah, 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 I agree. I think that this is kind of like where the public outreach, where I think Kadeem, I think you could be very instrumental with your contacts in the local area. And, you know, that's where you guys are South Norwalk people. So I as much as we need community awareness. So I don't want to, it's not just like a set and forget with the newsletter by any means. Anybody? Kadeem, you there?
No, I'm here. I'm listening. I thought that's what you were just saying. Nah, but I'm
Yeah. I just think,
100% on board with you on that. I'll give you some information as well. The pastor contacts and church contacts, that's pretty decent. I know Clark, I know Yule, so I know a bunch of all the pastors on that side. Even within the community, it's just honestly a Facebook post. Hey, those in the South Norwalk area, hey, what would you like to see as far as your vision of South Norwalk within the concept of art? You know, people already, like, when we did it, as we walked down in those and just within the city and the projects and all those, I actually like posted like a video, and people were like, oh, what are you guys doing there? And we just basically said, like, you know, we wanted to put some type of art within, you know, the community, within these neighborhoods. And people are like, oh, murals of who would you like to see? Murals of Martin Luther King, murals of Nipsey Hussle, murals of Pop Smoke, murals of Trayvon Martin, like things of that nature. So people like to see that, or statues of, you know, all the above. Like people that, you know, to be honest with you, you know, the people that live down there, you know, they definitely come from, you know, the bottom. So it's like, you know, they would, to see something like that would uplift them every day, coming from school, riding a bus, you know, things of that nature. So that's definitely, you know, something that, you know, I could definitely, you know, help you with. Some people, some people reached out as well when I put that video up, as we did our little tour. And people were like, oh, we should do this, we should do that. So, you know, yeah, I'm definitely for that, Mark.
Mark, how about to help Kadeem, could we try to advertise, promote suggestions from the public somehow? They can feed it in some, I'm not saying we put it on the website, but a place where they can give comments. We can even hold a meeting of some sort, advertise a meeting for the public if they'd like to give us feedback or input on the mural project.
Yeah, I'm open to that. I like the idea when people leave comments, they need to sort of enter their email to leave comments, because it's certainly, it does double duty. You get their email and now we can contact them in the future.
I mean, so, I don't know who's following social media in those areas, but I just feel like if we can really get it out there, this way we give them give the area every opportunity to give their input.
Right, exactly. I feel like when people say, oh, I didn't know about it, that's our fault.
Right. I am on the distribution list for a group called the District B Dems, which pretty much includes many of the South Norwalk residents and a lot of the residents that are, you know, pretty visible in the community, you know, such as like Ernie Dumas and, you know, Mike Mushak and other people, Darlene Young, this new Common Council member, Diane Revelas. So, you know, can easily, you know, provide that list, or whatever it is that we decide that, you know, a forum we want to create, can share it with that group, because I am on that list. So, and I think that list would pretty much cover, I mean, and Kadeem, correct me if I'm wrong, that list pretty much cover, you know, a lot of the people that are part of the, that are kind of very involved in the community, that would be the go-to for people, you know, that they invite to focus groups, or, you know, have their input in kind of what takes place in the South Norwalk area.
Yeah, no, 100%. That's absolutely true. Even if we gotta go to, District B meeting when they have one, because we have our meetings every month. So if we can make the next District B meeting and say, hey, listen, on behalf of the Knox Arts Commission, we just want to let you guys know this is what we're doing. We just want to get you guys input, and then have them say, hey, listen, we're doing our public participation on our next meeting. We would love to see if you have anything to say about, what we're about to pitch to you. So and then even for me, like on a social media post, all I got to do is just post it, and tag, legit, the people that live down in these areas, and get them to share that. And, we'll just share it so that we can see all the stuff we get. And then we'll just like put it on a doc, like Excel doc. And then, it'll be smooth.
Fair enough. Okay.
Would it be helpful to have like the South Norwalk Library put something together to give out to people, and maybe the local schools to get the kids involved? Because I'm not sure what schools, like elementary, middle schools, the kids would go to. And I think it's McMahon that they go for high school, but have the art teachers get involved and say, listen, this is what we're going to do. We'd like your feedback. Or just give them notice that we're discussing it, because that way we have that demographic too.
Certainly no reason why not.
Yeah.
Specifically.
Just one thing to think about: when you ask for opinions, you certainly get them, and we'll probably get a lot of feedback. And if we, just be mindful that we're not going to be able to do everything. So it's a good thing to get feedback, but then also there's, we have to be very careful and mindful that we may get 50 different types of requests, and we can only really honor kind of a portion of them to appease the masses. So it could open ourselves up for criticism if we don't kind of take care of some things that people want.
Yeah.
I think that's a great point. We have to be very smart on when and where you invite the public to comment. So I agree with that you could end up with a million voices and no clear vision to the whole thing. So to me, and my personal experience has been like something that's very focused and you can ask people about. But if you just kind of give people a blank sheet of paper, then you're going to get a million thoughts and ideas that are not possible. So that I totally agree with that. It's just like we have to be smart about when and where you invite people into this process, because everyone has ideas.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. And to be honest with you, knowing the whole community downtown, I kid you not, the people that live in these housing projects, they lived in them housing projects pretty much their whole life, and they probably still there now. So everybody knows everybody. I know one thing that came up recently. Somebody emailed me. I meant to tell you, Mark. The basketball courts where D Block used to be, Washington Village used to be. Did they paint those already? They painted that court?
Yeah.
And what's on that court? Does anyone know?
Yeah, it's a mural. It's a mural by Jermaine. Jermaine West.
It came out good. It looks really good.
Okay.
It's an abstract art piece. It's really pretty.
It's like a modern kind of looking, I don't know the style, but it's Jermaine's typical type work. It came out really beautiful.
Yeah. I have a video of the whole project, what I can share with you, Kadeem, if you like.
Definitely, please. But yeah, no. So people asked about that, the people that, lived there for 40 years, 30 years. So yeah, definitely. And they, so that's good. That's good. But the people definitely are going to be receptive to it. So whatever you put out, they're definitely going to be receptive to whatever you think. And so that's why I say you definitely were correct on that, Bob.
Yeah. I think we walk a fine line, because I know that it's like when you don't ask people, they get really oppositional, whether it's for their own good or not. It's you walk a fine line between asking everybody their opinion and not asking anybody their opinion.
I think Julio has the right mindset to maybe we have the theme, we have directionally what we want to do, and it really builds guardrails so that if we ask for input, it's kind of with keeping of the theme of how he wants to curate it. So I think that's really directionally the way to go.
I agree. Less of like, what do you want to see, and more about what do you think about this idea?
Right.
This one idea.
Right.
In my opinion, that's why I had the plan being created sooner, because I wanted them to comment on the plan, not, give direct suggestions, because I think it just becomes too much and too many ideas and too many people. So definitely have them comment on the direction that we're going in the plan and the locations and things like that, but not necessarily, taking the reins from Julio per se.
Fair enough.
Maybe narrow down the murals to like these 5 or 3 murals that they want up. Say, what's your favorite? What person, you want up there?
I mean, that gets, I mean, isn't that what Julio's for? Like,
Yeah.
that gets hairy. You start like, I mean, the public comment to say about putting art in your neighborhood, it becomes way hairier when you start saying, which one do you like best? I don't know.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's best that Julio, make a plan and curate as he would, and then have them comment on whatever's we come up with.
Agreed.
I think that the most important part of this is the outreach, right? Is the grassroots outreach and connecting, like you said, with the church community and with the people, the residents that have lived there for 40 years, and maybe just get a sense from them as to like, what are the spaces, what are the places, that you'd like to see improved, right? Because that's part of what public art does, right? It improves an area. So like, even if you talk about the basketball court, love it or hate it, it attracts people, and people are like, oh, I would like to see this area, look cleaner. Like even something like that, cleaner, right? Like I think that, that's one of the big things for me, especially along Martin Luther King, right? There's so much garbage and people just throw stuff out there. In a perfect world, I would love something that maybe, involve the community and in a cleanup, and also the murals become something where people will want to walk up and down that street. It's honestly, it's not very safe to walk up and down that street. You have cars going by you at 50 miles an hour. That's another thing that maybe we can, with this project, have a conversation with the city to say, hey, what can we do so that people have, a little more safe, feel a little more safe when they walk up and down the street? Is it lighting? Is it guardrails? Is it what? But, something like public art just, number one, engages people to come out and look at it. And number two, is just like, let's make it, inspirational for people that do go by it every day, or have to walk to school or drive to work or whatever.
Yeah.
Well
I
said,
think that-
Julio.
I think that's a great idea. Maybe one small aspect of it could be, and, going back to Nori's point on the schools and the children, one small part of it could be a community and family engagement activity where, maybe there's a space or a location where the kids can come and they can, and the families, and they can put their arts and feelings and emotions on that. I think that's a great way to, to also, of course, lend itself to the whole idea that, this project was rooted in community engagement and participation. I think that's a great idea.
Wow.
Yeah, Julia, I had one question. So as you're going through the locations, is the intention to present those before we kind of get approval that we can actually install art in those locations?
Yeah, honestly, it's something to share within the committee, to be like, hey, this is a cool wall, but it's privately owned. Do we start a conversation with these people? This is a public, public space right here. This could be something that we can work with the DPW to secure. So yeah, I think initially, within the committee, I would love to just present this portfolio of locations, and then we could winnow it down and be very specific as to how we go forward. It could only be one location. We could say to, within a committee, and be like, you know what, this is doable. This is what we can pull off. So let's focus on this one. And then that's all we share with the public, as far as like, hey, this is the thought. We want to create art in this space right here. and invite people to have a conversation. I wouldn't want to present, 20 some locations to the general public, just because, like you said, if it's not vetted, if it's not secure, then, it could blow the whole thing.
Yeah, not to the public.
Waste a lot of time.
I was just thinking to the committee here. It's kind of like what comes first, the horse, the cart or the horse. Just you may have great locations that we'll never get approval on. So I just want to make sure that whatever you're suggesting at some point, we understand the logistics of, can we actually put art there?
Exactly. Yeah. I don't want to waste time.
Yeah.
Just because, we could spin our wheels for forever talking to people, trying to secure locations. So it's better to kind of go for the short thing versus trying to chase down a bunch of things that won't happen.
Okay, cool.
Emerson, do you have any update on infrastructure beyond MLK?
Sure, I could definitely give a little update of what we spoke about the last time. So the infrastructure committee, we're primarily going to tackle the public art policy and the art acceptance policy and the bylaws for the public art inventory. That's in our 2021 budget request. And then the bylaws are several years old, so those need to be combed over and revamped and restored. And that'll take some time. That'll probably be covered in the next infrastructure committee meeting. And then for the public art policy, we're likely not going to pass the full policy. We'll update it and we'll follow the policy ourselves. But I was advised that it's likely not the best to pass it through council formally, because then it becomes legally binding. For the most part, that's it on my end, I think.
Did anyone?
Sabrina, this is Melissa. I have a question about that. Steve Kleppen, will he have a problem with anything he needs done, because we did tell him we would work on a policy, or will he be okay with the vagueness of that?
That's kind of dead in the water, because it was really for murals, and legal advised us that regulating murals is pretty much impossible, unless it's what we're following in our policy already, which is, no hate speech, location, that type of thing. And environment, I think there was like a few categories in our public art policy. So he doesn't have an issue with it, because he originally wanted a standard approval process, but we can't do that anymore. So it is what it is.
So if someone comes to him and says, I want to do a mural, have you talked with him and he knows what he plans on saying?
Yes, so if it's on private property, we really can't do anything.
Okay.
But if it's on public property, that's different and would need to go through an approval process, which he knows about, which I presented to legal, which basically follows our public art policy that currently exists, but includes what committees or commissions you would need to go to, and if you would need council approval or not.
So when you're talking private property with that, so if you're a business, could a business technically do a mural now?
Yep, unless it has components that would make the mural a sign, because then we can regulate signs, but we can't regulate murals.
Okay.
So
all
if
right.
there's
I just wanted to make sure that was clarified, because in the meeting we did discuss that, and I just wanted to make sure that he wasn't left high and dry and that there'd be some confusion.
So just to clarify, it's not that we're not going to have a policy. It's just that the policy is not going to be, it's not going to be a law. It's not going to become an ordinance. It's an informal policy, and that's generally what we basically have determined. That's why our last policy was sort of framed as such. It wasn't ratified by the Common Council, because that was what the process would have been to make it into a law. This is a policy that generally exists for this commission under this administration. Would you concur with that, Sabrina?
Yeah, so it's not making it an ordinance, but anything that's approved by council, staff has to follow, and we would have to follow. So it boxes us into something that we might not necessarily need to follow or want to follow when things get more complicated as we do more art projects. So that's why we make it, and we don't fully approve it by council. We just make it and follow it ourselves.
Right, so it's more like our process.
Yeah, pretty much. It's a process document so that we can accurately, approve art and do our own art projects in a manner that makes.
And also so that we can communicate to the public what the process is.
Yep.
Yeah. Did anybody have any questions about that? Because that was interesting for us at that infrastructure meeting to really wrap our brains around that. Okay. So moving on to new business, the only item we have in new business is to approve a change of installation for the Washington Street barriers to be executed in December. I know Bob had some opinions on that. So Sabrina, could you take over for that?
Yeah, so we're not going to change them out with artist work in the winter time. We're just going to get banners printed up with some general like snowflake / wintry theme. And then we're going to approve, well, hopefully at the next meeting, we'll approve and review the installations for March. So those ones will be printed artists, digital artists, and come up with the theme and do the same thing as last time, except we're going digital instead of painting them so that they last a little bit longer. And we can potentially store those ones and actually reuse them as well. So this go around for December, we're going to take the ones down, put the printed ones up that are really generic winter holiday themed. And that costs around $6,000, but that's coming out of our budget, not the Arts Commission budget. And then going at the next meeting, we'll approve the artist payment amounts, the theme, and have that discussion. And then that money will also come out of our budget, not the Arts Commission budget. So
when you say our, you mean culture or tourism?
It's not my budget, it's economic and community development budget. So it's Jessica's budget technically.
Okay, and so for that, for the snowflake stuff, there's really not like an art exhibit in a sense, so.
No, it's really just probably gonna be like blue with snowflakes or make them look like presents or something.
Sabrina, who's creating, where are you gonna get that though?
My
Even the
question,
generic.
exactly.
That was my
Yeah.
question too.
It's probably just gonna be some stock imagery. We're gonna look and see if Josh can make something on Adobe for us,
Ooh,
print it up.
You have an arts commission.
I know, exactly, yeah. I mean, look, Brian and I and whoever else wants to help, but we, I'm not saying we create all brand new work, but we should curate that so it just doesn't look like clip art.
I agree. I like that idea.
Sabrina, is that something you want to,
Because there's 26 barriers down there, so they're 20 feet long. It's quite a bit of real estate. We could repeat images, but I just want to make sure, regardless, right? Because we have the Norwalk Arts Commission kind of name stamped on the last one, which was, I thought, a pretty successful art exhibit. I want to make sure that the art going up is in keeping with that.
Yeah,
Not
I mean,
saying-
if somebody wants to do it, I'm happy to put whatever on the banner as long as it's holiday themed and we can
Yeah.
repeat because we just want it to be able to be executed super quick.
Okay.
That's why we're keeping it
Yeah.
simple.
All right. So Brian, you want to? I'll connect with you offline, and maybe you and I can wing this.
Yeah, that sounds cool. I'm
All
into it.
Okay. So Sabrina, so in terms of this artwork that's up now coming down, I think we discussed returning that to the artist.
Yeah, we don't have, they're kind of peeling and stuff now. Also, we don't have space to store them at the moment. We're trying to figure that out for the ones we get printed up because those ones won't peel and they'll be able to last a little bit longer. But yeah, we want to return them to the artists for sure if they want them.
So as far as the removal, will DPW handle that without costing us additional money?
Yep, I already spoke to them about it. They would just do what they did last time, which somebody from the Arts Commission, whether it be Bob or myself or anyone wants to go and assist them in the installation. I told them we would pay for, they said they can reuse the bolts that they used last time, but if per chance one breaks, I told them I'd pay for it. So they're happy to do that. And they said it shouldn't take any of their overtime either. They should be able to do it within the hours, so we wouldn't have to pay for that either.
Yeah. All those barriers are pre-drilled, which took the most amount of time. So it's just a matter of backing the screws out and screwing. And we use grommet here, the typical size grommet. So it should, wherever we get the new vinyl banners, Sabrina, I'm assuming Minuteman, we just have to make sure we give them where the grommet should be so it lines up.
Yep.
Do we need to vote on changing the plan in terms of returning the artwork to the artists? I mean, I don't think anybody would object to that, but.
We don't need to vote on that because it was in the agreement that we can kind of do what we wish with them after, and they sign that. So we'll just put a date for them to return it.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I like the idea. I like the idea a lot. So Bob, so I know that your concern as far as making it holiday artwork was that in terms of like working with a number of different artists, that it would be too time consuming, but you don't think it would be a problem for you and Brian to work on this, so it just keeps the quality high?
Yeah, look, I don't want to pull the rug from Josh. I don't know his credentials, like creating artwork, but Brian and I have the background to create. I think we can do it. So I'll just.
Josh will be thrilled to not have to do this for me.
Yeah.
If you guys want to do it,
Yeah.
by all means.
Do we want to have any messaging, or is it just generic visuals for holiday?
It's up to you guys. As long as it's holiday themed and
winter holiday
theme,
Okay.
yeah, that's totally fine because it's really only going to be up there, until the spring ones come up. So
Okay.
like
And
the
we-
end of February.
We don't want to be Christmas, Hanukkah. It's just
Winter.
winter, right?
Winter, I would think.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
That's
Just
my
want to
concern also with the word holiday being thrown around so much. It sounds like we're gonna have Christmas and Hanukkah and whatever up in.
Yeah. So
No, it's more
no.
just like winter themed,
Got it.
those
Got
types of like
Okay.
blues and things like that. So
Got it. Okay. All right. We'll come up with something.
Okay, did anybody else have anything else? That's all we have for the agenda.
Mark, I wanted to find out when we can coordinate for the first Art Speak, because I think we should do a virtual one, as we talked about. I know there was money allocated from a budget standpoint, but what's the next steps process-wise?
We can, so we had allocated money that was from last year's agenda, right? So Sabrina, is that money still allocated, or do we need to reallocate new funds for a different type of event?
no, you can still use it for that. It just depends how much you're going to spend. We would have to follow the procurement standards, but I mean, I don't see you spending like $5,000. So
So Bob, were we talking about some sort of like Zoom roundtable? Is that what
Yeah, exactly. So I think we need to still host it somewhere. I'd love to be able to have the speakers like in one area with a moderator, and we can put that on video, and then whoever wants to join joins. I think probably it should be a free of charge event, but we should promote the hell out of it and have a theme, agree on the theme. We had it on urban art as the original concept. I still think that's a viable concept. Pick a date, pick who the panel is, moderator, and get at it.
Sabrina, is that something we would be able to, like when you do the bigger commission events on Zoom where you moderate and sort of work on the back end, is that something we'd be able to work on with you to function in that way?
yeah, that's fine. It just depends on the dates and times because we just have to be considerate that council gets kind of first dibs.
Sure.
As long as we're not conflicting with any of that, we should be fine.
Mark, are you saying host it though, or have it hosted there at the town hall area? Or
Well,
could we-
it's a Zoom meeting, right? So it's more about just like who is really operating the Zoom and seeing, being able to, as far as, housekeeping, muting mics, unmuting mics and.
Okay,
things.
that part, yeah, because yeah, being on the creative side of the fence, I want this to be as creative as it can be, from location to speakers, the whole thing. So it should be I don't want it to be a stiff business meeting. I want it to be a kind of a cool event.
Yeah, so by all means, I mean, let's, definitely put some thought into the creative flow of that event.
Yeah.
And,
Okay.
and then I think that was done originally through communications committee. So with Peter was a part of, planning that, and whoever else was a part of it, let's talk offline and just put our heads together.
Yep. Yeah, Peter and I were leading that, but happy to have anyone else that would want to help and join.
You got a logo, you have a logo at least.
Yeah, we got a logo.
Logo was cool. Logo was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
We should resend that around. So all the.
Mark, we could maybe host it there at the Underground Factory, your place.
Yeah, we can do it here. There's no problem. We can do it.
Yeah.
But, it's a matter of obviously social distancing and all that, whatever.
Right.
And hopefully things will improve anyway. But I'm open to doing working factory and
Yeah.
no problem. That sounds great.
So what would be next steps? Come up with again, revisit the theme. I'll get a committee together. I'll connect with Peter, and then for the next meeting, we'll have.
Well, let's just let's do a communications sort of committee meeting, and I'll invite Matt and whoever else wants to join, and we'll just rap about it.
All right, cool.
Anybody else, voting members that want to participate, Kadeem, anybody, more than welcome. I'll follow up offline and we'll organize it.
Cool.
Great. All right. That's pretty much it. All we have. If anybody has anything else, speak now. Forever hold your peace. And do we have a motion for adjournment?
This is Melissa, I motion.
And do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, so a vote to adjourn is Mark Allen, aye.
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 Hi, Brian Casper.
Aye, Emerson.
Anybody want to stay on Zoom while the rest of us leave?
Negative.
Not really.
No, I don't want to stay on Zoom.
Have a great night,
I was
everybody.
very good,
Yeah.
You
Joy.
too.
Have a
Good
great
night.
night. It was great seeing you all.
See you guys.
Aye.
Bye.
Good night.
Peter, I just sent the timeline in the chat.
Oh, I see it. Are you there?
Not that we're gonna, follow that to the T, but that's the idea.
Okay. All right. I did miss it. So there was a timeline.
Yeah,
Timeline for what?
MLK timeline.
Oh, okay, cool. Can you re-forward that?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Alrighty.
All right.
Bye, guys.
All right, guys. Thank you,
Bye.
Sabrina.